Captain June stared at the message screen in his small office aboard the human embassy station. The words glowed in alien script, but his translator made them clear enough. He read them 3 times before the meaning really sank in. Report to the High Arbiter immediately. Violation of Universal Code 1 Alpha detected. Compliance required within 1 galactic cycle. June had been a soldier for 20 years before becoming Earth's military attaché to the Galactic Council. He knew trouble when he saw it. This message felt like trouble with capital letters. He walked through the embassy corridors, passing other humans who worked on Nexus Prime. The space station was massive, bigger than any city on Earth. Aliens of dozens of species moved through the halls. Some looked almost human, while others seemed impossible. There were beings made of crystal, others that floated like living gas clouds, and creatures with too many arms or eyes. Most of them ignored the humans. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago. To these ancient civilizations, humans were babies who had just learned to walk between the stars. June found Ambassador Hana in her office, also staring at a message screen. She looked up when he entered. Her face was pale. "You got one too?" she asked. "Yes, any idea what Universal Code 1 Alpha is?" Hana shook her head. "I've been searching the legal databases for an hour. It's classified above our access level. We'll have to ask them directly." They took a transport pod to the council chambers. The journey gave June time to think. In his 6 months here, he had noticed something strange about the other species. None of them carried weapons, not even ceremonial ones. Their security forces used stunning devices at most. Their military ships looked more like research vessels. When humans first arrived, other species had been shocked to learn that Earth's delegation included military officers. Some had seemed almost frightened when they learned humans still fought wars. Not often and not like the old days, but humans still understood violence. The council chambers were enormous. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared in shadow. Hundreds of different species had representatives here. At the center sat the High Arbiter, a being called Velthar. Velthar looked like a living mountain of blue crystal. Light moved through his body in patterns that somehow conveyed emotion. Right now, those patterns looked angry. "Humans," Velthar's voice echoed through the chamber without him moving. "You stand accused of violating the most fundamental law of galactic civilization." Hana stepped forward. "High Arbiter, we request clarification. What is Universal Code 1 Alpha?" The patterns in Velthar's crystal body shifted to what looked like surprise. Around the chamber, other aliens made sounds that the translator interpreted as gasps or murmurs. "You do not know?" Velthar asked. "How is this possible?" "Our admission to the council was fast-tracked," Hana explained. "We weren't given the full legal database. Please explain the code we've allegedly violated." Velthar's body went completely dark for a moment. When light returned, it moved in slow, heavy patterns. Universal Code 1 Alpha is the pacification doctrine. All species that join the Galactic Council must surrender their military capabilities. All weapons of war must be destroyed or handed over to Council authority. All military knowledge must be sealed away. This has been the fundamental law for 50,000 years. June felt his stomach drop. Around the chamber, alien representatives watched the humans with what looked like mixture of pity and fear. "Every species that has ever joined this council has willingly accepted pacification," Velthar continued. "It is the price of galactic citizenship. War's the greatest evil. It has destroyed countless civilizations. We have eliminated it through this law." Hana's voice was steady, but June could hear the strain. "High Arbiter, this law was never explained to us during our admission process. Because it is so fundamental that no species has ever questioned it," another voice said. This came from Mordek, a representative who looked like a giant insect. "Every civilized being understands that weapons bring only death and suffering. We conducted extensive cultural analysis of your species before offering membership," added Yilnas, whose species looked like living metal. "We assumed you had naturally evolved beyond warfare, as all intelligent species do." June looked around the chamber. He was starting to understand something that chilled him. These beings weren't just peaceful by choice. They had forgotten how to fight. They had bred the ability out of themselves over thousands of generations. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" Hana asked. Velthar's crystal body brightened. "Earth must destroy all weapons of war. Your military must be disbanded. All knowledge of warfare must be removed from your databases and educational systems. Your species must be pacified, as every member of this council has been. And if we refuse?" June asked, speaking for the first time. The chamber fell silent. Several aliens made sounds of shock. Velthar's patterns turned dark red. Refusal is not possible, he said slowly. No species has ever refused pacification. But if we did refuse, June pressed. Hypothetically, then Earth would be expelled from the Council. All trade would cease. All technology sharing would end. All star charts would be revoked. Your species would be quarantined to your home system until you accept pacification. June felt a chill. Humanity had only just started exploring the galaxy. Their faster-than-light technology came from the Council. Their medical advances, their agricultural improvements, their new energy sources. All of it came from galactic trade and cooperation. How long do we have to decide? Hana asked. There is nothing to decide, Velthar replied. This is not a choice. This is galactic law. You have one galactic cycle, 30 of your Earth days, to comply fully. The transport pod back to the human embassy was quiet. June stared out at the stars through the viewing port. Somewhere out there was Earth suddenly feeling very small and very alone. They're serious, Hana said finally. Yes, they are. June, I've been studying these species for months. They really have given up all violence. Their security forces couldn't fight off a group of human teenagers. Their military ships have no real weapons. I noticed that too. But they've also eliminated war completely. No conflicts between species. No civil wars. No terrorism. Think about what that means, June nodded. It was impressive. But something bothered him about it. Hana, what happens when these peaceful species meet something that isn't peaceful? Something that doesn't follow their rules? What do you mean? I mean, what happens when they meet something that wants to hurt them, and they can't fight back? Hana was quiet for a long moment. I suppose they trust the Council to protect them. But the Council is made up of the same peaceful species. If something really dangerous showed up, something that couldn't be reasoned with or negotiated with, what would they do? I don't know. They reached the embassy. June went straight to his secure communication room and sent an encrypted message to Earth. The message would take days to reach home. Even with their fastest quantum communicators, the message was simple. Earth faces ultimatum. Must surrender all military capability or face complete isolation from galactic civilization. Require immediate guidance from all governments. Time limit, 30 days. As he sent the message, June thought about his grandfather, who had been a soldier in the last great war on Earth. The old man used to say that the price of peace was constant vigilance. You could only be peaceful if you were strong enough to defend that peace. Looking out at the alien stars, June wondered if humanity was about to learn whether his grandfather had been right. The emergency session in the Global Defense Council chambers had been going for 6 hours. President Day looked tired as he listened to the heated arguments from world leaders appearing on screens around the room. Some spoke in person, others joined by hologram from their home countries. This is insane, said Chancellor Muller from the European Federation. They want us to give up everything that makes us human. What makes us human is our ability to think and create, countered President Nakamura from the Pacific Alliance, not our ability to kill each other. General Wu stood at the front of the room, his uniform crisp despite the long day. He had been silent through most of the debate, but now he cleared his throat. May I speak, Mr. President? President Day nodded. Go ahead, General. I've been listening to everyone talk about whether we should keep our weapons or give them up. But I think we're missing something important. We're not talking about what weapons really are. The room quieted. General Wu was respected by everyone present. He had led the international force that stopped the resource wars in Africa. He had negotiated the peace treaty that ended the last major conflict on Earth. Weapons are tools, Wu continued, but they're not just tools for killing. They're tools for protecting. Every police officer carries a weapon to protect citizens. Every security guard carries one to protect property. Every soldier carries one to protect their country. But the aliens have proven that protection doesn't require weapons, said Prime Minister Chen from the Asian Commonwealth. They've had peace for 50,000 years. Dr. Mira stepped forward. She was Earth's leading expert on alien biology and psychology. For the past 6 months, she had been studying every species in the Galactic Council. Actually, Prime Minister, I don't think they've proven that at all, she said. I think they've proven something very different. She activated a holographic display showing the evolutionary history of several alien species. Look at where these species evolved, she said. The Velthari, the crystal beings like the High Arbiter, evolved on a planet with no predators. Their world was rich in resources and had a stable climate for millions of years. They never needed to compete for survival. The display shifted to show another species. The Mordek evolved on a world where they were the only intelligent species. No competition, no threats. The Yilnas evolved as a collective consciousness. They literally cannot understand individual conflict because they think as one mind. She turned to face the room. Every single species in the Galactic Council evolved in paradise. Worlds with abundant resources, stable climates, and no serious threats. They gave up warfare because they never really needed it. What about us? Asked President Day. Dr. Mira's expression grew serious. Earth is different. We evolved alongside predators that could kill us. We survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and climate changes that would have wiped out most species. We competed with other intelligent species like Neanderthals. We had to fight for every resource, every territory, every chance to survive. She gestured to another display showing human evolutionary history. Our capacity for violence isn't a flaw in our design. It's a feature. It's what made us smart enough to create tools, organized enough to work in groups, and adaptable enough to survive anything our planet threw at us. Are you saying we should refuse their ultimatum? Asked Chancellor Muller. Before Dr. Mira could answer, Captain June's voice came through the communication system. He was still on Nexus Prime, participating in the meeting through Quantum Link. There's something else you need to know, June said. I've been monitoring galactic communication channels. There are disturbing reports from the outer rim of the galaxy. What kind of reports? President Day asked. Ships disappearing. Entire colonies going silent. The Council is calling them technical difficulties or communication failures, but the pattern is too regular. Too organized. General Wu frowned. You think something is attacking them? I think something is out there that the Council doesn't want to admit exists, June replied. Something that doesn't follow their peaceful rules. The room fell silent. President Day looked around at the faces of the world's leaders, both in person and on the screens. Let me ask a direct question, he said. If we give up our military and then humanity faces a threat, alien or otherwise, how do we defend ourselves? The Council would protect us, said President Nakamura. With what? General Wu asked. I've seen their military ships. They're barely armed research vessels. Their security forces carry stun weapons that might stop a drunk person, but wouldn't even slow down a determined attacker. Dr. Yuna, the head of Earth's Xenotechnology Division, spoke up from her seat near the back of the room. I've been analyzing the technology they've shared with us, she said. It's incredibly advanced in some ways. Medicine, energy production, space travel. But their defensive systems are primitive. They have no shields, no serious weapons, no tactical computers. It's like they've forgotten that bad things can happen. Because for them, bad things don't happen, Dr. Mira added. They've created a perfect society where everyone agrees and no one fights. But that only works if everyone follows the same rules. President Day stood up. We need to make a decision. The aliens are expecting an answer in 24 days. What are our options? Asked Prime Minister Chen. 3 choices, said General Wu. First, we comply. We destroy our military, give up our weapons, and trust the Council to protect us. Second, we try to negotiate some kind of compromise. Third, we refuse. What happens if we refuse? Total isolation, Captain June said from the communication link. No trade, no technology sharing, no travel beyond our solar system. We'd be cut off completely. Engineer Kang, who had been silent until now, raised his hand. He was the head of Earth's reverse engineering program, working to understand alien technology. Mr. President, I might have something relevant to add, he said. Go ahead. My team has been studying the alien ships that visit Earth. We've learned a lot about their technology. The good news is that we're not as far behind as we thought. The bad news is that their tech depends heavily on galactic infrastructure. Explain. Their faster-than-light travel requires beacons that are maintained by the Council. Their communication systems link into a galactic network. Their computers use processing power distributed across thousands of worlds. If we're cut off from that infrastructure, we'd lose most of the benefits we've gained from joining the Council. But we'd still have the knowledge, Dr. Yuna pointed out. Some of it. But a lot of their technology is designed to be dependent on their network. It's like they built in a kill switch. President Day rubbed his forehead. The weight of the decision was enormous. Choose compliance, and humanity might lose the very qualities that had made them successful. Choose refusal, and they might doom Earth to isolation just when they had started reaching for the stars. I want to hear from everyone, he said. Starting with you, General Wu. What's your recommendation? General Wu was quiet for a moment. Mr. President, I've spent my life fighting wars and then working to prevent them. I know the cost of violence better than most people in this room, but I also know the cost of being defenseless. He gestured to the display showing alien worlds. These species gave up violence because they never really needed it. We developed it because we did need it. That doesn't make us evil. It makes us survivors. So you recommend refusal? I recommend we tell them the truth. That humanity will gladly work for peace, but we will not surrender our ability to defend ourselves or others. If that makes us unacceptable to the Council, then perhaps the Council needs to reconsider what it means to be civilized. The debate continued through the night. Arguments were made on all sides. Some pointed to the benefits of joining a peaceful galactic civilization. Others worried about losing humanity's independence and strength. As dawn broke over the capital, President Day called for a preliminary vote. It wasn't binding, but it would show which way the world was leaning. The results were closer than anyone expected, but clear enough. Humanity would refuse the ultimatum. Now they had to figure out how to survive the consequences. 6 months had passed since Earth's formal refusal reached the Galactic Council. The response had been swift and absolute. Every alien ship left Earth's solar system within a week. All communication channels went silent. Even the emergency frequencies that were supposed to be kept open for humanitarian purposes carried nothing but static. Captain June stood in the observation deck of Luna Station, looking out at Earth below. The planet looked the same as always, blue and white and beautiful, but everything else had changed. The economic chaos had been severe at first. Earth's new industries, built around alien technology and galactic trade, had collapsed overnight. The fusion reactors that powered the major cities still worked, but replacement parts were impossible to get. The medical scanners that could detect diseases before symptoms appeared were slowly breaking down without alien maintenance protocols. But humans had done what humans always did when faced with a crisis. They adapted. Engineer Kang worked 18-hour days in his laboratory deep inside Luna Station. He had taken apart every piece of alien technology Earth possessed, studying how it worked. His team of engineers and scientists worked beside him, sketching diagrams and taking notes on everything they discovered. The power coupling in this medical scanner is actually pretty simple, Kang explained to Dr. Yuna as they hunched over a disassembled device. It uses a crystalline matrix to focus energy, but we can build something similar using synthetic diamonds and rare earth elements. Dr. Yuna nodded, making notes on her tablet. What about the quantum processors in their computers? Harder, but not impossible. We can't match their processing speed yet, but we can build computers that work with their software. It's like learning to speak their language. In the 6 months since isolation began, Kang's team had made remarkable progress. They had figured out how to manufacture basic components for alien technology. Their versions were bigger, slower, and less efficient, but they worked. Meanwhile, Dr. Yuna had made an even more important discovery. Human brains work differently from alien brains, she explained to Captain June during one of his visits to the research center. We process information in ways that most council species can't understand. She showed him a series of brain scans comparing human neural activity to that of various alien species. Look at this pattern, she said, pointing to areas of high activity in the human brain. When we encounter a complex problem, we activate multiple regions simultaneously. We use emotion, logic, pattern recognition, and intuition all at the same time. What do the aliens do? They use specialized thinking. The Velthari use pure logic. The Mordek rely on collective processing. The Yilnas follow predetermined algorithms. Each approach works well for them, but it's limited. What does that mean for us? Dr. Yuna smiled. It means we can operate their technology in ways they never imagined. Their computers have safeguards and limitations built in, but those restrictions don't work on human thinking patterns. We can push their technology beyond its intended limits. This discovery had opened up new possibilities. Human engineers weren't just copying alien technology, they were improving it. But Captain June had other concerns. He spent most of his time in the deep space monitoring station hidden on the far side of Luna. The station was one of Earth's best-kept secrets, built to watch for threats that might come from the depths of space. For months, the monitors had shown nothing but empty space and distant stars, but recently disturbing patterns had begun to appear. "Show me the readings from Sector 7 again," June said to Lieutenant Han, who operated the monitoring equipment. Han brought up a display showing the outer edge of the galaxy. "There, sir. 3 more star systems went dark this week." June studied the pattern. Over the past year, stars had been disappearing from the outer rim of the galaxy, not exploding, not dying naturally, just going dark, as if something was consuming their light. "Any response from the galactic communication networks?" "Nothing, sir. Either they don't know what's happening, or they're not talking about it." June had tried to send warnings to the Galactic Council through back-channel communications. Ambassador Hana, still stranded on Nexus Prime, had attempted to share the information with any alien diplomat who would listen. But their messages were dismissed or ignored. The aliens seemed to believe that humans were making up threats to justify their refusal to give up their weapons. They couldn't imagine that a species dedicated to peace might face something truly dangerous. Back on Earth, the world had slowly adapted to isolation. President Day's government had implemented emergency measures to deal with the economic crisis. But humanity's natural resilience was showing through. Cities that had depended on alien power sources converted back to nuclear and solar energy. Hospitals that had used alien medical technology trained doctors to use older, but still effective human methods. Farmers who had grown crops with alien genetic modifications went back to traditional breeding techniques. It wasn't easy, but it was working. General Wu had used the time to completely restructure Earth's defense forces. Without alien technology to rely on, he had focused on what humans did best: innovation and adaptation. "We can't match their firepower," he explained to his staff during a strategy meeting. "But we don't need to. We need to be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable." He had reorganized Earth's space fleet around smaller, more maneuverable ships. Instead of trying to build massive vessels like the aliens used, humans built swarms of smaller craft that could work together. "Think of how a school of fish evades a shark," Wu told his officers. "Individual fish are no match for a predator, but a coordinated group can confuse and outmaneuver anything." The new human fleet emphasized speed, stealth, and coordination over raw firepower. Ships were designed to operate independently or as part of larger formations. Pilots trained constantly in tactics that no alien military had ever seen. But Wu knew that all their preparations might not matter if Earth remained isolated. Humanity was strong, but they were also alone. That changed when Ambassador Hana sent an unexpected message from Nexus Prime. "Contact established with sympathetic faction," her coded transmission read. "Some council members questioning pacification doctrine. Request immediate meeting with human representatives. Situation may be changing." The message was brief, but it offered the first hope Earth had seen in months. Not all aliens were united in their decision to isolate humanity. Some were beginning to question whether the ancient law was still relevant. Captain June prepared for a dangerous mission. He would take a small, fast ship to a neutral meeting point near the edge of Council space. If he was caught, Earth could claim he was acting without authorization. If he succeeded, he might find allies among the alien species. As his ship launched from Luna Station, June thought about what Dr. Yuna had discovered about human thinking. Humans could see patterns and possibilities that aliens missed. They could adapt to situations that confused other species. Maybe that ability would be enough to save not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Behind him, Earth continued its preparations. Engineers worked to understand alien technology. Scientists studied ways to improve human capabilities. Soldiers trained for battles they hoped would never come. And in the deep space monitoring stations, more stars went dark on the rim of the galaxy, marking the approach of something that the peaceful council was not prepared to face. The attack came without warning. Captain June was in the middle of secret negotiations with a group of alien dissidents when every communication channel in the galaxy suddenly filled with screams. The agricultural world of Alyros, home to 30 million peaceful beings, was under assault. The planet's gentle inhabitants, farmers and artists who had not known violence for thousands of years, sent desperate pleas across space as their world burned. June watched the incoming data feeds in horror. Massive black ships, each the size of a moon, had emerged from the darkness between stars. They moved with terrible purpose, consuming everything in their path. Where they passed, matter and energy simply disappeared, as if reality itself was being eaten. "The Devourers," whispered Dr. Kess, one of the alien scientists who had been meeting with June in secret. Kess looked like a tall, thin tree with silver bark and glowing eyes. "The ancient enemy has returned." "You know what these things are?" June asked. "Legends. Stories told to frighten children. We thought they were myths." Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council's peacekeeping forces responded to Elyrus's distress call. June watched their approach on long-range sensors with growing dread. The Council fleet was impressive to look at, sleek white ships that gleamed like jewels against the black of space. Each vessel was a masterpiece of peaceful engineering, designed for exploration and research. Their weapons were limited to non-lethal systems meant for crowd control or asteroid mining. They met the Devourers in the space, around Elyrus, and were destroyed in minutes. The alien ships didn't fight like any military force June had ever studied. They didn't use tactics or strategy. They simply consumed. When Council ships fired their weak energy weapons, the beams were absorbed. When they tried to retreat, they found their escape routes blocked by more black vessels that seemed to materialize from nowhere. One by one, the peaceful ships were broken apart and devoured. Their crews, beings who had never known war, died without understanding what was happening to them. "We have to help them," June said. Dr. Kess stared at him with glowing eyes. "Help them? With what? You humans have a few small ships and primitive weapons. The Council fleet was 1,000 times more powerful than anything Earth possesses. Maybe. But the Council fleet fought like they were going to a scientific conference, not a war." June opened a communication channel to Earth. General Wu's face appeared on the screen, his expression grim. "General, are you monitoring the situation at Elyrus?" "Yes, it's a massacre. I'm taking the task force to intervene." Wu was quiet for a moment. "June, that's suicide. You have 12 ships and 400 crew members. This enemy just destroyed a fleet of thousands. The enemy destroyed ships that didn't know how to fight. We do. The Council will see this as an act of war. They've forbidden us from entering their space. General, if we don't act now, there won't be a Council left to worry about." Wu nodded slowly. "You're right. Take the fleet. I'll deal with the political consequences." June's task force was small but fast. 12 human ships, each about the size of an alien escort vessel but built with human military doctrine in mind. They carried crews trained in actual warfare, not peaceful exploration. As they approached Elyrus, June could see the devastation. 3 of the Devourer vessels hung in orbit around the planet like black tumors. They were drawing energy from the world below, slowly consuming its atmosphere and oceans. "They're feeding," reported Lieutenant Han from the sensor station, "converting matter to energy to create more of themselves. Can we stop them?" "Unknown, sir. Their hulls are absorbing all scan attempts." June studied the tactical display. The Devourers were huge, but they moved slowly. They seemed to rely on their ability to absorb energy rather than avoiding it. "All ships, this is Captain June. We're going to try something the Council fleet didn't. We're going to fight dirty." He split his small fleet into 3 groups. Instead of approaching in formation like the alien fleet had done, the human ships scattered across the system, using asteroids and debris for cover. "Remember," June broadcast to his fleet, "these things expect us to come at them directly. We're not going to do what they expect." The first group, led by Commander Park, made a direct assault on the nearest Devourer. As expected, the black ship began absorbing their weapons fire. But this was only a distraction. While the alien vessel focused on the frontal attack, the second group came in from below, targeting what appeared to be energy collectors on the ship's underside. Their weapons couldn't penetrate the hull, but they could disrupt the feeding process. The third group, led by June himself, waited until the Devourer began to turn toward the second attack. Then they struck at what sensors suggested might be a weak point, a section of the hull that glowed differently from the rest. For the first time since the battle began, a Devourer showed damage. The black hull cracked, spilling energy into space. The massive ship shuddered and began to list. "It worked," shouted Han. "We heard it!" But the victory was brief. The wounded Devourer sent out a signal and 2 more black ships emerged from the darkness. They moved faster than the first one, adapting to human tactics. All ships, fall back to the asteroid field, June ordered. Use hit-and-run tactics. Don't let them pin you down. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. The Council species had always fought, when they fought at all, with honor and nobility. Ships met in open space, exchanged fire until one was disabled, then accepted surrender. Humans fought like the survivors they were. They used asteroids for cover, attacked from unexpected angles, and retreated when the odds turned against them. They targeted weak points, disrupted enemy operations, and coordinated attacks in ways the Devourers didn't expect. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't honorable, but it worked. By the end of the battle, one Devourer was destroyed and the other two were damaged enough to retreat. For the first time in galactic history, the ancient enemy had been driven off, but the cost was high. 4 human ships were lost, and the survivors were badly damaged. Worse, Alyros was a dying world. The Devourers had consumed too much of its atmosphere and energy. As June's fleet prepared to withdraw, they received an unexpected message. Ships from a dozen different Council species were approaching, not to attack but to offer assistance. Ambassador Hana's voice came through the communication system. "Captain June, you're being hailed by the Council fleet." "They want to talk." The lead ship belonged to the Velthari. High Arbiter Velthar himself appeared on June's screen, his crystal body showing patterns of deep confusion and something that might have been respect. "Human Captain," Velthar said, "you have accomplished something we believed impossible. You have defeated the ancient enemy." "We didn't defeat them," June replied. "We hurt them. They'll be back, probably with more ships and better tactics." "How did you succeed where we failed?" June was quiet for a moment. Around him, his bridge crew worked to repair damage and tend to wounded shipmates. "Because we know how to fight," he said finally. "Not because we like violence, but because sometimes violence is the only thing that works against something that wants to destroy you." Velthar's patterns shifted to something June had never seen before, what the translator identified as humility. "Perhaps," the alien leader said slowly, "we have much to learn from humanity." The news of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. For the first time in 50,000 years, the pacification doctrine was openly questioned. Species that had forgotten warfare began to remember that sometimes peace required strength to defend it. And in the darkness between stars, more Devourer ships stirred, preparing for the real war that was coming. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any in 50,000 years of recorded history. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the great chamber, but instead of the usual calm debate, the air crackled with fear and uncertainty. High Arbiter Velthar stood at the center, his crystal body showing patterns of deep distress. In the month since the Battle of Alyros, 17 more star systems had fallen to the Devourers. The ancient enemy was no longer hiding in the darkness between galaxies. They were here and they were spreading. "The situation is clear," Velthar announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Our peacekeeping forces are insufficient to combat this threat. We have lost more ships in the past month than in the previous 1,000 years combined." Around the chamber, aliens made sounds of distress in dozens of different languages. The Mordek clicked their mandibles in agitation. The Yilnas hummed in harmonies that expressed fear. The crystalline Velthari dimmed their internal lights to show grief for the lost worlds. "What do you propose?" asked Counselor Zeth, a representative of the gas cloud species that floated near the ceiling. Before Velthar could answer, the chamber doors opened. Ambassador Hana walked in, followed by Captain June and General Wu. The humans moved with confident steps toward the center of the chamber, ignoring the shocked gasps and murmurs from the alien representatives. "You have no right to be here," declared Mordek Prime, the insect-like species' chief representative. "Humans are banned from council space for refusing pacification." "The ban is lifted," Velthar said quietly. The chamber fell silent. "I have invited them here." Hana stepped forward. "High Arbiter, members of the council, we offer our assistance in fighting the Devourer threat." "Assistance?" Counselor Zeth's gas form swirled with agitation. "You have a handful of primitive ships. What could you possibly offer?" General Wu activated a holographic display showing tactical analysis of recent battles. "We offer what you've forgotten, the knowledge of how to fight a war." The display showed the Battle of Alyros from multiple angles, It showed how human tactics had succeeded where conventional council strategy had failed. Your ships are more advanced than ours, Wu continued. Your technology is superior in every way, but you've designed them for exploration and research, not combat. You've bred the ability to fight out of your species. Fighting is barbaric, protested Yilna Secondary, speaking for the collective consciousness species. Violence only breeds more violence. Sometimes, Captain June said, stepping forward, violence is the only thing that stops greater violence. The Devourers don't want to negotiate. They don't want peace. They want to consume everything that exists. Dr. Mira, who had been working with alien scientists for the past month, joined the presentation. We've analyzed the Devourer technology from the wreckage at Iliros. They're not just weapons of war. They're machines designed for total annihilation. They convert matter into energy to build more of themselves. If they're not stopped, they will eventually consume the entire galaxy. Velthar's crystal body pulsed with patterns that showed deep thought. What do you propose? Hana stepped forward. A temporary alliance. Human tactical knowledge combined with council technology. We train your forces in warfare while you provide us with the tools we need to fight effectively. This would require abandoning the pacification doctrine, Velthar said slowly. Not abandoning it, Hana corrected. Modifying it. The doctrine was created to prevent species from destroying each other. But it never considered the possibility of an external threat that couldn't be reasoned with. General Wu activated another display showing proposed ship modifications. We can retrofit your existing vessels for combat. Install shields, upgrade weapons, modify tactic systems. Your ships are beautiful, but they're defenseless. We can change that. And what do humans gain from this alliance? Asked Mordek Prime suspiciously. Survival, June said simply. The Devourers won't stop with Council worlds. Eventually, they'll reach Earth. We're all in this together whether we want to be or not. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some species argued that violence was never the answer. Others pointed out that their peaceful approach had already failed catastrophically. A few suggested that humanity was using the crisis to gain power over the Council. Finally, Dr. Yuna, who had been analyzing Council technology, presented evidence that changed everything. The Devourers have been here before, she announced, displaying data patterns that had been hidden in the deepest archives of Council history. 50,000 years ago, when the pacification doctrine was first created, the chamber erupted in shocked sounds. This was news to everyone, even Velthar. The historical records were buried, probably to prevent panic, Dr. Yuna continued. But the quantum signatures match. The first Devourer invasion is what convinced your ancestors to give up warfare. They thought that by eliminating all weapons, they would never attract the Devourer's attention again. But they came back anyway, Hana said. Because the Devourers don't care whether you're peaceful or violent. They care whether you exist. Velthar was silent for a long moment, his crystal body cycling through complex patterns. Finally, he spoke. If what you say is true, then the pacification doctrine has not protected us. It has made us vulnerable. It worked for 50,000 years, Counselor Zeth argued. No, Velthar replied. It hid us for 50,000 years. Now we've been found and we're defenseless. The vote, when it finally came, was closer than anyone expected. But it passed. The pacification doctrine was formally suspended, replaced by the adaptive defense mandate. Species would maintain the right to bear arms in defense of themselves and others. Military knowledge, banned for millennia, would be shared openly. The transformation that followed was remarkable. Within weeks, human instructors were working with alien engineers to retrofit council ships. Species that had never fired a weapon in anger learned about tactics, strategy, and the brutal mathematics of survival. Some aliens took to warfare with surprising aptitude. The Velthari, with their logical minds, excelled at strategic planning. The Mordek, with their collective coordination, made excellent fleet commanders. Even the peaceful Yilnas found ways to contribute, using their technological skills to create new defensive systems. Captain June found himself aboard the first hybrid warship, a council vessel retrofitted with human weapons and tactics systems. The ship was a masterpiece of cooperation combining the best of both civilizations. Contact, shouted Lieutenant Han from the sensor station. Devourer fleet approaching the Kepler system. 50 ships, maybe more. This would be the real test. The new Alliance fleet numbered over 200 ships, representing dozens of species working together for the first time in galactic history. "All ships, this is Captain June," he broadcast to the fleet. "Remember your training. Fight smart, fight together, and fight for everyone who can't fight for themselves." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human tactics combined with alien technology created a force that the Devourers hadn't expected. Ships that could have been destroyed easily months before now fought with coordinated precision. The Devourers adapted quickly, but not quickly enough. For every human tactic they countered, the aliens provided new technologies. For every alien strategy that failed, humans offered alternatives. When the battle ended, the Devourer fleet was scattered. Most of their ships were destroyed, and the survivors fled back into dark space. Standing on the bridge of his hybrid ship, surrounded by alien crew members who had learned to fight for their civilization, June watched the stars. Somewhere out there, more Devourers waited. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the crisis began, the galaxy had hope. Ambassador Hana joined him at the viewing port. "The Council wants to establish a permanent joint command," she said. "They're asking you to lead it." June shook his head. "I'm not a politician. I'm a soldier. That's why they want you." He thought about Earth alone in its solar system for so many months. He thought about the aliens who had been forced to relearn the art of war to save their civilization. He thought about his grandfather who had always said that the price of peace was constant vigilance. "The galaxy is changing," Hana said quietly. "For the better, I hope." "That depends on us, on all of us." Captain June nodded, looking out at the stars where human and alien ships flew together in formation, ready to defend the galaxy against the darkness that waited beyond. The law that humans had refused to follow was gone. In its place was something better. Not the peace of the defenseless, but the peace of the strong, maintained by those willing to fight for it.